Welcome to the Crystal Zone podcast with Kyle Russell of Crystalconcentrics.com. Our motto is Crystals for Life. You're in tune to the Crystal Zone podcast, and we're just taking a moment now to share a word from our partners, people who make this show possible and who might be able to help you in some way.
Hi, I'm Nina Manelson, and this is a message for you if you're a woman over 40 who has been on and off diets for at least 10 years. I'm a nutrition and body relationship therapist, and I help women feel truly at home in their body. I work with smart women who already have so much information about what they should or shouldn't do to care for themselves, but still feel like they're at war with their body and food. If this resonates with you, please visit ninamanelson.com. I have a free ebook for you, How to Be a Woman at Ease in Her Body.
Welcome. It's nice to be back in the podcast seat again. I was actually going to put out 2 other podcasts before this one, but things got a little hectic because at the end of last year, 2019, I got an offer to appear and to sell at the Tucson Gem Show, specifically the 22nd Street Show, and I will be doing an entire podcast all about that coming up. So stay tuned for the Tucson podcast episode, as well as the other 2 I had in the can when it became apparent that doing a podcast today about the upcoming Crystals360 program was really my top priority as far as getting sort of in there with you and explaining to you personally what that online program is all about. I have been doing online programming for a number of years. I started with webinars that were converted to YouTube videos, and I was doing YouTube invitations to my Facebook Lives, of which I have a number as well. But what happened is that the YouTube channel itself, my Crystal Concentrics YouTube channel, kind of ran away and got its own sort of viral set of subscribers a year or 2 years ago, and it jumped up over past the 4 or 5, 6, now 7,000 subscriber mark. And I've been really pleased to be bringing people a steady stream of content which runs the gamut from spotlight series where I'm talking about a specific type of crystal to sort of crystal philosophy series. And the reason I call them series is that they do end up in playlists, so that even though I have 160 odd videos out there, you can look at them in the context of a playlist so you can get the logic. For example, most recently I created the Tucson interview series where I'm having little conversations with people who I've met at one of the shows. And what I started to recognize, especially as I was approaching the Tucson Gem Show, was that I was going to be in front of as many as 50,000 people, because that's one of the best attended shows, the 22nd Street Show, and everyone who comes in, who makes their rounds through the main tent there, was going to see my big backdrop photograph and introduction to Crystal Concentrics. I also handed out probably a few thousand of our postcards. And what I wanted to do was give these people who I was meeting for the first time in an international context, because the Tucson Gem Show is the biggest one in the world. Again, more about that in the dedicated podcast. The reason I'm talking about it now is that it inspired me to create an online program called Crystals360, which is a way for folks who are not local to me, or even people who are local to me, who simply can't make it in every month when we have a meditation event, and who can do this program right from the comfort of their own home, wherever they're located. And I wanted to also create a kind of an evergreen program so that even folks who are coming in later, not at the specific starting deadline, who might be coming in a year or two later from now, could benefit from this sort of encapsulation of the experience of being guided by me through an understanding of how I think about crystals, but much more importantly, how you think about crystals and how you can integrate the template or format or paradigm that I provide into your life on a daily basis. And I think one of the things people are most confounded by is, how do I bring crystals into my life on a daily basis? I don't even know where to begin. And on the opposite end of that spectrum are people who have gotten back to me about the program and said, oh yes, I already have a crystal certification with this other person. And to them I say, well, that's great, but that's almost like saying, well, I already have a favorite restaurant. I don't need to go to any other restaurants. There's nothing really that anyone else can share with me about food that is going to be educational or rewarding to me, which is kind of a limited perspective. If I had an opportunity to get a window into any crystal practitioner's perspective, I would be grateful to take that opportunity in order to learn something new and different. And why that's particularly relevant with me is that my approach is not like anybody else's. Two things that I can think of immediately off the bat that make me unique is I don't follow this idea that there's some sort of an ancient tradition that I am merely the latest incarnate of, and that if you follow me, that somehow you'll be tapping into the tradition of such and such, say the Peruvian shamanic tradition. That's not really where I'm coming from. It is true that I have an alien inspiration, and that the knowledge that has come to me has come from somewhere else. But once we're here and once we're sharing in it, it doesn't really matter what the origin is. Another perspective that I do not have is that my perspective is somehow more scientifically based than other people's, and that I can prove to you that the approach I have is sort of tried and tested through the scientific method. Not a relevant perspective at all either. The real proof of the pudding in terms of my work and our work together is whether and how it resonates with you. And what you do in terms of putting it to use in your life. You can hear from my voice that I'm a little quieter and a little more, maybe a deeper voice right now, because I am overcoming a recent flu. And with all the coronavirus hysteria that's going on right now, it's relevant to be speaking to you from a place of having been laid low, albeit temporarily. And I was talking with my wife about some things that might be triggering around that. And I thought, oh wow, most definitely it's triggering because I've had cancer twice in my life. And in other ways, I have approached the doorway, the gateway to leaving this life, and chosen repeatedly to stay here among the living and as a terrestrial being rather than an ascended master or otherwise. Um, but what I want to do is give you a little sort of walkthrough. We've created a wonderful landing page for this Crystals360 program, and it's a great sort of resource that brings you in, first of all, by establishing the commonality that we have in terms of sharing a love for crystals, wanting to be around them, have them around all the time. And a lot of people's collections get so big that way that they lose track of what they even own, the names of the stones they have, and they don't really have a grasp of what those stones could be doing for them. So, one of the ways in which we're going to be able to provide you lasting, tangible, ongoing value is that you're going to have a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group if you're not on Facebook, that you can ask questions, that you can share photographs, and our goal really with this program is to enable you to get more out of the collection that you have, and to experience ongoing value and a resource that you can return to in order to enhance that value that you're looking to have from your existing collection. Of course, there will also be suggestions about stones that you can bring into your collection to enhance that collection, because I have such an enormous selection, mostly offline, of wonderful power stones, and that includes pieces in my personal and what I call my session stone selection. And the way we want to give these to you also is through our two online programs, which we'll be delivering through the Zoom format. It's a video format. There's going to be a curriculum class. Each month we're going to be focusing on one of the 10 energy zones. We're going to begin with foundation, which is the below the root energy zone, having to do with your own past lives experiences. And when I say past lives, I don't mean necessarily before this birth life, although those are relevant also. I'm talking about your young life, the way that you were 10, 20, 40 years ago. That's all relevant, and that's all something that we touch upon when we talk about the foundational self and also the foundational crystals. So that is what we're going to be doing in terms of practically. We're going to have a curriculum delivery that I deliver one way, and then we're going to have a crystal meditation towards the end of the month where I'm going to be integrating some of the things we've been talking about and learning about, so that you can have an experience and meditate along with me right online in order to have that tangible experience that I find is so important for people. It's so easy to be heady and to read about crystals, but to really experience them personally, you have to get into crystal meditation. And that's something that we'll be doing. We have 3 tiers to the program: the lapis, the topaz, and the sugilite. And in the upper 2 tiers, if you're willing to pay a little bit more, and the folks who have been signing on have been doing that because they recognize the value of the integration call, which is going to be a Zoom call where you're going to be able to participate, to ask questions, to be seen if you like, on or off video. And those integration calls, we're going to be really taking in what we've learned and what we've been talking about, and giving it some practical personal value. So that's a really interesting aspect of what it is that we're going to be doing. The kinds of effects that we're looking for, what are the practical impacts of you being a part of this program? The things that I am hoping for you are a greater capacity to slip into a grounding state of mind more easily. That's very important. The capacity to have go-to crystals that you'll use when you want to get rid of anxiety, when you want to de-stress, when you want to let go of some of the negativity that may be either surrounding you or that you may be generating in yourself as a result of a kind of automatic process of stress escalation that some of us experience. And I want to help you to be able to avoid that type of a stress cycle. It's very important for some of us to be able to connect with spirit and to be able to do that on demand. And we want to enable you to have more of the tools to be able to go to spirit and to connect with your higher self and your guides in a way that maybe you haven't so much in the past, or in a way that can sometimes feel challenging. And last but not least, the fourth thing that I really want to make sure that you have and experience, however large our group is, and whether you're experiencing it in real time or whether you're coming in after the fact, is I want you to be able to participate in and experience the community of like-minded people, however few we may be. A lot of folks are afraid to actually step into this process and be committed to it over the course of a year because they don't ultimately want to be held accountable to anyone for their personal experience. And the beauty of this program is that you can participate as much or as little as you like. If you're a hermit and you really don't want to interact with people, but you want to vicariously experience what other people are having in terms of an experience, and take advantage of the types of things people are putting out there in terms of questions they may be asking or issues they may be grappling with in terms of deep personal or health problems that they're facing, then this is a great way for you to experience that in as interactive or uninteractive a way as you choose. I'm feeling very, very good about the fact that we're not going to be putting people on the spotlight or calling them to task or making them accountable, although we want to give you that opportunity, if that's something you choose, to be in the presence of other people's input. And it's very important that we keep the environment safe. That's one of the things that I've learned from my in-person groups, is that sometimes people's chemistry is a great match and sometimes it isn't. And when it's not, and when people feel like they're fire and ice or oil and water, it's my job to keep people at a safe distance from each other so that they can be in the experience together without having any kind of a confrontational energy going on. Obviously, we don't welcome people who want to be confrontational or who want to make other people's experience miserable. We want people who are self-selected for their interest and ability to work with others, play with others nicely. It's super, super important. What I want to also tell you is that we're going to have, in addition to this sort of online group, the community that you're looking forward to, we're going to have email inspiration weekly, and we're going to try to make this inspiration different from what you would be experiencing through our usual newsletters. We now have newsletters that are coming out semi-weekly, and they are sharing with you video footage, of which we have an increasing amount. And they're also sharing with you some of our commonly shared experiences, things that we can offer to you wherever you are. And then we also focus on local events because we're located in the Boston area and we do have a store and wellness center. We're able to offer classes for those who are able to come in person. And one of the cool things that we're offering for folks who are signing up to the Crystals360 program is an in-person online experience of my prescriptive approach. We're going to talk to you about your situation, what you've been through, where you're at right now, and I'm going to pick out some stones that I recommend that I think will be useful for you in your practice and in your process. So that's for folks who have actually signed up before a certain deadline. And there's going to be so much more that I can't even think of or get into right now. Our podcast format is just over 20 minutes. We like to make it easy for people to digest and experience and think about, and not endless and super, super engrossing in such a way that we might lose some people. So if you do want to be a part of an ongoing program, either real time while it's happening when we launch or after the fact, I recommend that you definitely visit the Crystals360 page on our homepage of crystalconcentrics.com. Any questions, of course, email me, Kyle at crystalconcentrics.com, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you so that we can have you on board and participating in this unique crystal community experience. Thanks so much for listening. We look forward to bringing you more podcasts and more content steadily. Thanks for being a part of our list and a part of our Crystal Zone podcast. Signing off, it's Kyle Russell here.
You're in tune to the Crystal Zone podcast, talking all about crystals for life, and you might wonder where would be a great place to buy crystals. Well, we have a warehouse and storefront, the Portal Crystal Gallery in Arlington Center, Massachusetts, and you can have a look at all our displayed items, and also, if there's something of interest, we have an extensive backstock. In any case, if you're more distant and you want to work by email and phone, we are happy to serve you through our quality custom crystal mail order service. A portion of our inventory is up at crystalconcentrics.com, but you should definitely email Kyle, K-Y-L-E, at crystalconcentrics.com with any questions. We can send you videos and show you all kinds of items which we have not yet had time to upload onto the site. Looking forward to hearing from you.